Hello, welcome to another edition of XFeed. Look at this. So I was at the grocery store, and they were giving out these like cards that are Marvel cards. And the only thing that I could think of, and you obviously had to like buy groceries with this, but the only thing that I could think of is Doodles and the Arizona collab. The fact that we keep talking about all these major brands, all this IP, everything else in the space, and how do you break into the mainstream? Well, I mean, not that I necessarily watch a whole lot of Marvel movies or anything, but it's interesting that we got a bunch of free cards for going to buy groceries. Unbelievable. If this is your first time tuning in, what's up? My name is Schiller. This is XFeed. We go over everything Web3 related on the timeline. And of course, Monday shows are usually the best just because we have, a couple days over the weekend, and sometimes it's super exciting. Sometimes it's not, but for the most part, it's pretty all right. So let's jump into things. First off, there was this article put out by NFT Plazas that was talking about the top NFT marketplaces of 2024. And so quickly scrolling through that for Element, which is actually something I've never heard before in my life. 30-day volume, 33 million. But it's got Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, and some others connected to it. The rest you'll probably recognize. OKX, 19 million on the 30-day volume, which again, these numbers are significant. Think if I were to give you $74 million, what would you do with that? Order in DoorDash? Hell yeah, Bruce. Magic Eden, again, $74,000. As I just said, got a couple of different marketplaces on there. I don't see the token. A lot of things. I still haven't really used the marketplace to actually buy anything, to be totally honest. OpenSea, I have that one is at 104.6 million. Sheesh. And then over on Blur at 96 million. Insanity. And those are only on Ethereum and Blast, so it's not even connected to the other ones. So it's kind of, when you think of the Blur token, everything else, well, if they open up these other ecosystems, what exactly does that mean? But the point being is on the timeline right now, you're probably seeing everybody. It feels almost euphoric in a way where not every collection is even doing anything, but we're at the point where it's kind of the, hey, look, all these things are happening. The events are going on. We got Project Dragon happening. We got the Third Kingdom with Futureverse about to happen. We have insert your favorite collection that's still around, that's still doing something. You probably have something that is touted about to come out. And I would think, for the most part, maybe barring one or two collections, most of this year has kind of been, hey, there's a lot going on. We should get excited. Things are bullish. But it hasn't necessarily shown or reflected in everything. And, towards the end of the year, does that change a little bit? Well, it just might. Now, this is kind of a cool story from Buenos Aires. Ethereum and Solidity are now formally integrated into high school education programs there. So you get to learn about blockchain if you're there. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. Now, somebody that bought a bunch of BAYCs, again, Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're the ones who swept 250 ETH previously on a bunch of leverage. Now, again, if you've not looked at the NFT marketplaces, from the beginning of the month to now, things are looking decent comparatively. So interesting that they're back sweeping even more. But Hotline Bling saying, okay, can we hold off on the Bored Apes for flying again? And this is kind of the awkward part because there's so much notion of, don't go back to 2021. Think of the craziness that it had. And again, Bored Apes went, 150 Ethereum. Insane to think about the heights that they were. Were they early for their time, or is that just where the market's headed? Now we're seeing some other collections picking up steam as well. We had a gold Pudgy Penguin going for $66,000. Are you pudgy or are you not pudgy? It's not a fat joke. I trust. Okay, so MetaBlocks made this really cool post that was talking about how much lending is in different NFT collections. And within this chart, you can see, if I make it bigger, 63%. Holy smokes for CryptoPunks, showing just the different market caps. And that's kind of what I wanted to actually highlight more than the lending volume on this, because when you go through the list, it's super interesting where CryptoPunks 770 million market cap, BAYC at basically half of that at 388 million, Pudgy way down below that at 270, and then Azuki again from the top ones, it's almost like it's consistently getting cut in half. And then we see Captains, Doodles, Mochaverse, Clone X down here, and then the ones below at 10 mil market cap, Sappy Seals, Cool Cats, and Fluffs. Now, obviously, for some of these other collections, you can see that there's no lending volume associated with it, and that's why I want to kind of talk about just the market cap. But it is crazy when you especially compare these to a lot of tokens out there, and you're like, hey, these NFTs do have something a little bit more to them. Well, we might want to just sit back, relax, and see what happens. Crazy news out of the NFL today. A wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, they reached an agreement. Holy smokes. They got a $38 million signing bonus, but $136 $1.6 million deal, and it was negotiated by CAA. Now, who else is in partnership with CAA? Oh, yeah, right, Futureverse. Haven't even gotten ready yet, and Futureverse out here making announcements. Futureverse and CAA have decided to tie the knot. Not in that way, but this is big news. Futureverse, the wizards behind AI and metaverse magic, have teamed up with the Creative Artists Agency, or CAA for those who like acronyms. Again, this isn't just any kind of typical partnership. This is potentially a serious dynamic duo ready to revolutionize Web3, the metaverse, virtual games, and basically anything futuristic and cool. Welcome to almost 2024. Imagine a world where your favorite game and movie characters hang out. That's where we're headed. Futureverse is bringing its A game, already shaking hands with big names like FIFA, Warner Music Group, and the Muhammad Ali estate. And with CAA in the mix, they're gearing up to inject some Hollywood flair into the tech universe. Do you remember Gen 1, the text-to-music AI generator? Well, apparently it's already outperforming some of the big dogs from Google and Facebook, and this partnership, well, it might seal the deal on that. Futureverse co-founder Shara Sundaroff said in the article, Futureverse's strategic collaboration with CAA has forged a strong alignment in fostering the development of mutually beneficial business models that empower creators with groundbreaking tools and lucrative revenue opportunities. And Phil Quist from CAA commented saying, we are thrilled to be working with Futureverse, who are establishing themselves as leaders in the technology and entertainment space. This relationship is not just a meeting of minds, but a fusion of capabilities that will accelerate our shared vision for a smarter, more connected world. And let's not forget about Sundaroff and McDonald's 6-year journey with this. They're not your average tech enthusiasts. They're kind of more like Dumbledore and Gandalf, if you know what I mean. Imagine somebody's never seen Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
All right, dude. Nah, that's crazy.
So anyway, that was like that was an older video, but I thought I'd end up playing this and then highlighting this as well. Because again, when I saw the deal, I was like, oh my goodness. And then they specifically highlighted within that, and I don't even think that I mentioned the full breakdown, but they said one of the agents that work at CAA were one of the ones who crafted that deal for CeeDee Lamb, which again was like record breaking for a wide receiver, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, you know, you don't necessarily see all these things when you have like these names attached to it, but seeing that, I was like, holy smokes, these guys are working with some big dogs. Okay, so the author of Ready Player One, Ernest Cline, was out South by Southwest back in March of 2024, and he was talking about the standards, avatars, a little bit about the future, and I thought this clip was really, really good, so I clipped it, shared it, and now I'm going to share it again here with you guys here.
Talk to me about my avatar. Like, do I use my real name? Like, who can I be? And I also kind of want to ask if you were, I'm pretty sure you're going to make your own avatars. I would like to know what those avatars would be as well. But yeah, what can I do with my avatar? What are some of those like crazy things? I know you said we could switch skins, we get the passport, and
well, eventually you'll be able to do whatever you can imagine, and whatever any developers can imagine. What we're doing by creating this standard of the Readyverse, I think about it in like terms of the movie. Like if you had the Iron Giant, right? If your avatar owned the Iron Giant, and it existed just on the Iron Giant biome or in the Iron Giant planet, that was a recreation of that whole movie. Right. But you wanted to take it to Planet Doom and fight Mechagodzilla, you would need the standard that the Iron Giant works on, where it has kind of the same hit points and values and power levels that would be convert and allow you to take it to Planet Doom, and Mechagodzilla and all the other avatars that you're fighting there have that same standard. Anyone who creates a new world and adds it to the metaverse can use that standard, and then everything will be interoperable. That's the word that we use, is interoperability, where everything, your Ready Pass and the Readyverse standard, it's all interoperable. And Readyverse Studios is kind of a way for IP holders like myself or anyone who owns anything, any intellectual property that people would want to experience, like Harry Potter or Star Wars or Star Trek or Barbie. There will be a communal virtual space that people all over the world who are excited about something can get together. One Piece can jump into the One Piece experience that the fans themselves could create using the Readyverse standard, and then you're hanging out with all the other people who love the same stuff, and you're dressing your avatars like the characters, and you're in environments that are like the environments in the the movie. That's what gets me excited about Readyverse Studios is showing people. You can kind of get a glimpse of the possibilities in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, but anything human beings can imagine. Now we're at the precipice of being able to do, and by creating a world that's interoperable and all these standards apply, that's what makes it possible. You need that, you know, that foundation for this world that we all imagine that we're going to get to live in. We have to lay the foundation for everyone to help us build on top of it.
And in terms of like what you can create and who you can be, it's really anything you want, you know, and it's what your imagination can come up with. It's what someone else can create that you can love, that you can buy, or you can, you know, get involved with. Could be a brand, it could be a studio, like Ernie said.
Or yourself.
Or just be yourself. You come as yourself.
I'll be the most badass version of myself.
Yeah, exactly. and that's the cool thing about it. And Readyverse has partnered with a technology company, Futureverse, who has foundational models in generative AI. So literally type who you want to be.
Oh my God.
It's kind of funny that Aaron's like, yeah, Readyverse is partnered with Futureverse, and like he's kind of like the same thing on that. But think of the IP names that they just dropped, talking about the standards in specific. I think it's a super bullish clip and super underrated that a lot of people weren't really paying attention to when it happened. So excited to see the Ready Player One world come to life. Now, VV. Somebody brought it up in the stream. Sorry, forget who it was back on Friday about following VV, and you know what? You're right. Let me look into it a little bit more. So I noticed that they were highlighting their Snow White comic drop coming up on the 28th, so a few days from now. But it is kind of crazy to think that all these IPs are here on chain, getting sold in a different digital way. I went to like the VV Comics site, and you can see that they have Venom, Spider-Man. I guess like all those were that, Spider-Woman, Deadpool, all these other things. And again, these ones are priced at like $3.99. $4.98, not relatively expensive. So if you want to collect it, well, then I guess you get to do it. But again, it's a little bit different than like collecting in person because you have that physical. Does the world get more and more accustomed to collecting things in a digital way? Disney Pinnacle as well, highlighting that they got the Lion King pins for them. A little bit of Mufasa. Not bad, not bad. And I saw this and I was like, oh my goodness. And so there was a YouTube channel that talks about crypto, and they got taken down, and it's like, damn, that's tough. I feel like we've had a few things before, and I wonder if this is like only crypto related, if this is something a little bit more. It's kind of a weird talking point because like at the same time, you're like, whoa, am I ever, you know, gonna get canceled for talking about this stuff? But it does show that there is still some stigma around things. I don't know if they were talking about something in specific that was like threatening the system or whatever, but just sucks to see kind of overall. Now, Lost Wisdom made this post that I thought was kind of crazy, and I don't know how exactly they figure it out, but they were saying the mind share of BYC over the past 24 hours, and it was up like 45%. It had Pudgy Penguins, Forgotten Runes, Wizard's Call, which if you haven't seen, they do have their game that's more open now, and I really, really enjoyed the I don't know if we call it the beta, the alpha, whatever they did a couple of weeks ago. I really, really enjoyed that, so I'm going to get to trying it again. Now it's open for everybody, so if you guys are wanting to play that, be sure to check out Forgotten Runes Wizards Cult. But I highlight CryptoPunks in here, the Proof Collective, for whatever reason, even though I didn't think there was that many people rocking like a Proof PFP of sorts, because I'm assuming that's how they figure this out. They have Art Blocks, MAYC. They're just showing a lot of people on the timeline that I guess have profiles as Bored Apes are talking on the timeline. So I guess that's good, but does show that there is kind of a huge focus from people that are holders within that collection for things that you see on the NFT timeline. Now, this was kind of a cool post from Gordon with him hanging out with Garga back in the day when they did their original merch drop. This was during COVID, and they had to do it in Garga's mom's backyard because they wouldn't let them in the house. So they had all the shipment of the merch. They all packaged it together. And apparently the story is that like their parents were like, yeah, you guys screwed this up. So they actually redid it all for them afterwards, which is kind of a funny story. A new giant advertisement regarding Bitcoin. Hell yeah. Over in Caesar's Palace. Again, seeming to get more of the news all the time. I've highlighted the collection regarding the in-betweeners. And I didn't even realize, but apparently Justin Bieber is still rocking that like collection as his PFP. It's the one that they've now like gone all in on like doing the meme coin and whatnot. But very, very interesting to see Justin still rocking the previous NFT profile picture. I think he had an ape at a point too. Or maybe he just bought one because that was all over the news and he paid like $500,000 for it, or MoonPay paid that. Crazy. This is equally crazy in my mind. The Sandbox shown at a concert in China in front of 20,000 people. So I guess this is what like a digital concert looks like. I'm assuming there was like an actual act. Maybe they were just showing something interesting on there and having the metaverse application. But still, either way, I think that this is really neat to see that like on a bigger scale. You might find it kind of weird, and most people maybe in that audience don't even know that like Sandbox is a place you can go, have a good time, hang out, you know, the whole metaverse idea. But we're getting more ingrained everywhere. Yo, Mr. Momenta, good morning or afternoon or evening to you. Now, NHL, just random side note, apparently they've changed all their logoing, so now like the center ice, they have a bunch of them zoomed in. We've seen two. I don't know, maybe some of the other teams have it too, or it's just Canadian ones, but I thought that was kind of interesting. Now, do you remember collecting physical things back in the day, or collecting games, and it wasn't even collecting anything, you were simply buying a game because you wanted to play it, but then, you know, wow, you have a collection of a whole bunch of different things that people want later in life, whether it's Pokemon, Digimon. You guys remember the Chaotic game at a point? Don't know if that's still around, but it's wild to see some of these old containers of things. And, you know, I've mentioned the CyberKongs hoodies I have, the V-Friends ledgers, the V-Friends cards. Are these things going to be worth $1 billion one day? When at a point we were just like, hey, we wanted to collect it for fun. It's kind of, you know, it's a little bit of speculation across the board. So Pixels Online was something that we've highlighted occasionally here and there because Ronan was highlighting the hell out of it. It was, you know, a massive success. And we've noticed within the space where we go through like ebbs and flows, where, for example, Parallel, the card game, that was all over the news for an entire, you know, several weeks. And then I felt like I've not really seen it along as much. I mean, they had the game that was like the Colony game, and they were highlighting that, and then it's kind of a little bit, you know, slower. And then Pixels Online, that's another one where it's all over the timeline, and then, you know, it's a little bit lower. And this guy's saying, honest opinion, Pixels Online sucks right now. Very disappointed with the current state of the game. So that sucks to see. But it does kind of go with this notion that, like, within Web3, no matter what it is, even if it's positive, you still have these massive ebbs and flows with things. Now, if you don't use too many different blockchains, you might not know, but for Immutable, and again, not trying to discredit Immutable, but one of the hiccups with it is the fact that it does take forever sometimes to be able to withdraw funds from the network. I remember back when they had the book games from Gary V, Guild of Guardians, try to use that when you're trying to bridge, it seems fine, but when you're trying to pull stuff out, holy smokes, this person ended up going like 100+ hours or something. They were saying that it was confirmed, and I guess it's like the state of the network. Gala Games have used that too. Sometimes it's a little bit slow, but it's still like within like 5 minutes, like nothing nothing that crazy. And so Immutable is probably the only chain that I've seen in a while that does have huge problems with their withdrawals, and I'm curious if that ends up getting sped up. And I shouldn't say problems because it's not necessarily a problem because it still works. It's just significantly slower than one would think. So on the weekend, we had some huge deal. The Telegram founder, Pavel Durov, ended up getting arrested in France. And Ton is an ecosystem that's like building on Telegram. And so we saw like a huge sell-off for that. And simultaneously, we saw a lot of people within the industry going out and vocalizing support for Pavel Yatsiu here from Animoca saying, we are committed and stand by our friends Ton blockchain community in this fight against freedom. Decentralization is the solution against censorship resistance and preserving our freedom and liberties. Now, this has caused a whole bunch of different takes on the timeline. We've had people saying, oh, that guy's awful. We've had other people screaming like, oh, we need decentralization. And it's so interesting, and it just kind of opens everybody's mind for it. And I think we're still waiting to see more info coming out about it. And one of those people, again, saying the only way forward, in my opinion, is decentralization, which for us, obviously in the blockchain space, a lot of the stuff is hyping on decentralization. And these, you know, I think it takes something rather big where that is, where people are like, ah. Now, at the same time, again, I get both sides of the story where some people are like, oh, you know, Telegram is kind of this unregulated thing. It serviced a whole bunch of bad things, but at the same time, almost similar to X, there's a lot of people that are saying, hey, we wouldn't realize about half the things going on in the world, the different parts, if it wasn't for this messaging system. So Strong Hands is saying, is there another collection with real Web2 brand traits in their profiles? I doubt it'll be the only ones either. And this is talking about the CyberKongs ex Adidas a little bit ago that happened. Crazio Faded CyberKongs is, I guess you need to you need plushies or rug 9 figures building a metaverse that will never come to be popular on crypto Twitter. So this is kind of an interesting perspective where I feel like we still have a huge, everybody's kind of in their own bubble. They like what they like. They dislike what they like. Is everybody going to like everything? Well, no, because there's almost zero reason to, right? There's no interoperability. There's no basically anything. Everybody's building their own ecosystem, hoping, hey, that person comes, sells their NFTs to come in our ecosystem, make our ecosystem better, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like it wasn't like that at a point, but it definitely still feels that way. And I'm curious, you know, because this was also a dig at a whole bunch of other collections, right? I mean, like if you read between the lines and what he's saying, you know exactly what collections he's hinting at, and it's usually the ones with, you know, or the ones with the higher prices as of right now. But does that mean it's, you know, natural? Obviously, we looked at the lending chart a little bit earlier. It's funny when you like step back and look at the different perspective on things. Now, over the weekend, there was a bunch of different Discords that were compromised, Polygon being one of them, just like a triple, double banger reminder. Be careful whenever you're online. One of the things for that, which I wanted to highlight, is right here, where John from Doodles is highlighting that there is still a lot of scams out there. So if somebody sends a link and you have to sign in for Discord, just be super careful that it is actually a Discord link, because when you sign in, then, you know, if you happen to have an account that's connected to different Discords, they ping everybody. Some people can't react super quickly. It depends on like who's available. Maybe they lock certain things out depending on what the permissions of the account are. But just whenever you're interacting online, listen, I feel like it's just easier to not talk to anybody and be a loner. Listen, the art teacher in like grade 9 or 10 kept my art piece because they thought it was creative. And it was like a couple of images, and I was like, I don't know, this is a loner. And he thought it was absolutely brilliant. I didn't know what the hell to make in this art class. And so I just randomly started drawing things. It was like individual figures, and I was like, I need to like come up with like an idea of like, why did I do this? You know, you ever gone and like done the idea or like created something without the idea, and then you have to like explain it, and then you like make up some BS? That was basically that situation. Okay, Jarvis, re-highlighting Snoop Dogg's shoes. Oh my God, do you guys want shoes? That are from Snoopy Dogg? Skechers. They're on sale, 50% off. Apparently they're charging $89 for a shoe that had a Bored Ape that was Snoop Dogg's on it. I think the shoes look horrific. That's tough. But to know that these were once priced at almost $90, we need new designers within the space ASAP. So I didn't get a chance to play the poker night within the other side playthrough for Project, well, we even call it Project Dragon, or Metropolis, I guess. So Meebits, they're calling it Metropolis, Bored Apes, all this ecosystem. This is kind of what their metaverse world looked like during that poker tournament. People were able to go and explore what it is. If you guys are wanting to see more of what some of those experiences were like, if you just type in Other Side Shillerverse, you should see them on YouTube. Or if you want to go for a quick scroll throughout the channel, because there's some other things, and cool to see kind of the metaverse worlds building out and just, you know, kind of seeing what they look like. An X copy. We're starting to see X copy starting to really ramp up here. Shout out for Tyler D highlighting these. A Deathless selling for 40 ETH. Overlord selling for 35, and a Gobble sells for 22. These are a lot. For anybody that doesn't know, X copy is, I don't know, I guess like one of the current digital artists that has gotten a ton of traction. And people think that they're going to be one of the biggest artists of our time, at least digitally, and could be beyond. And these prices, you know, fair point. I'd go with it. But that's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. I have like 605 more tabs, but I want to go through kind of a quick, concise thing. We can absolutely rapid fire through things, and then we can have a good show for tomorrow, because I realized, hey, you know, if you do everything on Monday, and, you know, you're relying on more news later on the Monday, and sometimes it doesn't happen. So, you gotta pick and choose. Not picking your nose. Anyway, appreciate you guys tuning in. Mo Meta, appreciate you coming in live. For anybody watching afterwards, we'd love for you guys to like the video. Thank you so much.